Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Employment Committee meeting. My name is Councillor Sarah Trotter, the chairman of this committee. I hope you all had a good summer and we can look forward to happier times ahead for the autumn of 2021. Now, on to business in hand. Can councillors and officers please ensure your mobile phones are switched off, or if you could turn them to silence if you're expecting any urgent calls. Thank you. As you can see, my vice chairman has changed. Anna Kelly can't be with us today. I think she's on leave, so I welcome Alan Robertson to sit and assist and do what he does best. Therefore, please can I ask for your patience as well when asking any questions. We will endeavour to keep a running order, basically first come, first served for the questions. The meeting will be recorded and the recordings will be retained in accordance with the Council's document retention policy. I have not received in advance any requests by non-members wishing to speak. However, I shall be following Rule 6.16.4(1) of the Constitution for any non-members who request to speak today. Obviously, that would be on my discretion. Obviously, we haven't got any non-members present. I'd like to welcome Councillor Linda Wotton, Cabinet Member for Corporate Governments, who will be giving a presentation on the Local Government Association Remote Peer Support. Thank you, Linda.
Just to check, we need three or four members of the committee. What for?
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the agenda, item 1 is apologies for absence. I've already mentioned we have apologies from Councillor Anna Kelly. I see that Councillor Paul Wood isn't with us yet. Pardon? He's in the building. I think Jane's just going to see if you can find him. And I'd like to welcome Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Blue, who is standing in for Councillor Barry Dobson. Any other? No? Everyone else? Oh, Callum Cook. Yeah, Callum's in the building as well, I believe. But I'll continue. I'll continue, and hopefully both Paul and Callum will be with us shortly. Moving on to item 2, disclosure of interest. Are there any members who have an interest to declare before the meeting commences? No, thank you. Item 3. There are 3 previous minutes to review, and item 4 will be covered under this item. Welcome, Paul. And Callum. It's all right. I'll just let you get seated and comfortable, and now I'll continue with item 3. The minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of June 2021, pages 3 within your agenda pack. Any amendments or comments for accuracy on page 3, please? Certainly. So Adam proposed, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Annie Mason, thank you. Second minutes of the meeting that were held on the 16th of June 2021. Oh yeah. Can we vote on the minutes that are true and correct record? That's the first set of minutes. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Chairman, I'm abstaining because I wasn't at that meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Rosemary. We'll pass them as a true and correct record. Moving on to the second set of minutes, which is for the meeting on the 16th of June 2021. Callum.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, I'm happy to propose, but can I just say that the spelling of my surname is incorrect, so it needs amending to put an E at the end of Cook, please.
Yeah, we'll get that changed. Thank you, Callum. Any other comments or amendments? Right. Yes, Adam.
Reading further down, Alan Robinson spelt incorrectly as well. Deputy Chief Executive. Robinson.
Get that changed as well. Okay, if we're all in agreement, can I have a proposer for the minutes, please? Thank you, Adam, and a seconder, please. Callum Cook, thank you. And can I have a vote that these are a true and correct record? Thank you.
Chairman, again, I'm abstaining because I wasn't at that meeting.
Thank you, Rosemary.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. And finally, the third minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of August 2021, pages 11 to 12 within your agenda pack. Any amendments or comments for accuracy? Of course.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I suppose it's just, can we have a bit of consistency with the minutes if possible, please? Because on this set of minutes, we don't have titles after any of the councillors, and then we've also switched the officers from having the titles of the names from previously the names and then the titles. So it's just a bit of inconsistency.
Yeah, I
So
take
can
your
we just
point.
ensure that, you know, the full titles are there next to the members' names specifically?
Yeah, thank you, Callum. We'll make that and rectify it going forward. Okay, right. So we're happy with page 11 of these meetings. Page 12, apart from obviously what Callum's highlighted. Can I have a proposer, please, for the minutes? Thank you, Councillor Annie, and a seconder, please. Adam, and can we have a vote that are a true and correct record? Lovely, lovely. Thank you. And Rosemary.
And again, an abstention as I wasn't at the meeting, Chairman.
Thank you, Rosemary. Last time you had to say that. Right. Okay, we'll now move on to item 5. We have an apprenticeship update, which is for noting only. Am I right in saying that, Alan, do you wish to give this presentation, or is Annie? We've agreed that Councillor Mason is doing the presentation. Thank you, Annie. This presentation can be found in pages 13 to 16 in the agenda pack. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this report provides an update on current apprenticeships at SKDC, which currently meets the annual target of 2.3% of its headcount. Information is provided on an additional incentive for new starters between April and September 2021, and we plan to explore whether SKDC are able to access this funding. The report also provides information on another government scheme for young people, the Kickstart scheme. And we're investigating whether we are able to offer placements under this scheme, which have the potential to move on to apprenticeships if the placements are successful and there are vacant posts available. Like you said, Madam Chairman, this report is just for noting. However, we do have Alan Robertson and Jane Jenkinson to answer any questions with regards to this report. Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Yeah, thank you. I have nothing against the report, but I must admit, I wonder whether we should do more than just note it, almost like encourage it. And I notice, probably I've got a question, the target, we've got a target for 2.3%. I wonder if should we be trying to improve on that. I say I'm not against the report in any way. I welcome it, but I must admit, I didn't like just we note it. I would almost rather be encouraging apprenticeships, and could we say something a bit more positive about it, really? That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wood. I think, yeah, Councillor Cook could elaborate on it. because I think there is good work going on for sure. It probably needs presenting.
No, thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, always happy to elaborate on it. I mean, I think in terms of the actual physical report, Councillor Wood, I think that, this is the standard local government phrase, but actually, I think for us as an administration and as a council, we really value the role that apprenticeships play across our authority, and I'm pleased that we are hitting the target that we have got. And of course, for me as well, apprenticeships are a vital part of our workforce planning in terms of how we can grow our own in terms of specific areas where, the market is very, if you look at planners and other roles in local government, there's a massive shortage. So where we can recruit people at apprentice level and then bring them up through the organisation is a really positive thing. And I think for me as well is these apprenticeships, they've got to be meaningful as well, because I think often in the past and in other organisations, you'll see apprenticeships that don't really add value to that organisation, and it's almost as if they're just admin assistants, whereas actually I'm pleased that our apprenticeship programme is actually developing our team into the roles that they want to do and across the whole board. So I think definitely for us as an ambition, the more apprenticeships that we can do, the better, because it shows that we've then got a healthy workforce in terms of where we sit across in terms of local government as well.
Thank you, Callum. Jane, if you do you mind if I ask you, at present, how many apprentices, have stayed and gone into full-time? Are you able to answer this question, gone into full-time employment?
I don't have specific details of that, but I think the majority of our apprentices do stay on and take up permanent employment with us. That's usually the case.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
So if it's helpful, Chairman, we can let you have those numbers, the number of people, of our employees are former or existing apprentices.
Yeah, I understand, what Councillor is saying. He wants to know how many coming forward, staying, going.
I was just thinking it would be better if we as a committee encouraged it more rather than just noted it, really, and made a bit more positive news about it. I totally agree with it, and like the leader says, encouraging apprenticeships. So I would rather want to add a bit more positive words than just noting the report. We actively as a committee encourage apprenticeship, don't we?
Rosemary.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think it's very pleasing to see that, the majority of our apprenticeships are in the planning department, where, I'm very pleased to see that. What I would want to know is, is there a time limit after they've finished their apprenticeship of how long they have to stay with us as an authority before they can move on? That was something that I would be interested to know. If we're paying for and giving knowledge to get, to become planners, what are we expecting from them after paying out all that money to get them through that? Also, it's very interesting to see that, the age range of the apprenticeships are between 21 and 30. Are we talking about those people that have probably left university? That's something that maybe we need to look on. They're just two bits of information that I myself would be interested to hear.
Yeah, are you able to answer any of Rosemary's questions?
Okay, so the way that these work now with apprenticeships is that there is no kind of age limit or anything like that on who can be an apprentice, but the government put almost a levy in place for all larger employers like ourselves. And where the funding, the costs are within that levy, we don't have to pay the levy over to the government. So effectively, the costs are mitigated by that. So instead of paying an additional levy, we can pay for the training in the apprenticeship. So there isn't any actual funding. It doesn't really cost the council anything at all. It's an alternative. It's paid out of the levy that we would have to pay anyway in a majority of those cases. We are looking at a broad range. It doesn't have to be somebody who's a new starter. It can be somebody who's changing roles or trying to develop to a higher level of education. So our apprenticeships are a really broad range, councillor. So I hope that helps, but there isn't anything that restricts them from moving on afterwards. because normally you would say you've got to, normally what the normal thing is you would sign a training agreement that says you have to repay your fees, but in this case, the fees are covered by the apprenticeship levy.
Come back, but if we're taking our time to invest in training, particularly oh, sorry, I thought it was. If we're taking our time to train planners for our planning department, here it's got 5, then surely we need to be getting something back. So I would have assumed that they would have been with us for a set period, because, you know, we can't afford, you know, I know we're being paid, but we can't keep having apprenticeships in that department and then they go on elsewhere. We must be getting something back for the time that we're taking to train these people.
Alan, you able to come back on that?
I don't think legally we can do anything in terms of a contractual agreement, in terms of enforced time with them staying with us. And that's just from my previous role when I used to work for the Minister of Skills, when he introduced the apprenticeship levy and stuff. And so I think for us, it's about making the environment the best place we can, and then trying to make it so they want to stay, and also creating those permanent opportunities so they do have the opportunity to then stay on. But I don't think legally there's anything we can do contractually to enforce them to continue their employment. Is that, I'm looking at you, Jane, that's correct? Okay.
Does that answer some of your questions, Rosemary?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Callum.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think just thinking about what Councillor Wood was saying about the recommendation, and I think we could probably just, where the full stop is, I think we could probably just expand it and say something along the lines of, you know, notes the update on apprenticeships at South Kesteven District Council, and celebrate all that has been achieved, and of course continue to ensure that all opportunities are maximised with apprenticeships at South Kesteven District Council. Just something like that.
Yeah,
and I think
rolled off the tongue.
And I think if I can say as well, not as part of the recommendation, is actually let's do some positive press about it, and probably get yourself as chairman and Councillor Mason to meet with some of our apprentices rather, and do some positive press, both internally as an organisation, celebrate them, but also externally as well, to show the wider district that we've got apprenticeships here and people can apply, and just raise the profile of them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good idea, and something that I'd definitely be happy to do, and I'm sure you would too, Annie. Yeah, like you say, it probably needs a bit more promotion, stemming on from what there's some really good work going on. We just need to let the wider public know. Yeah. Okay. Have we got any more questions on this subject? Okay. Do we need to? Yeah. Can we have a seconder, please, for Callum's motion? Thank you, Councillor Paul. Yeah. Did we get that? We got that noted down. Yeah. Yeah. Can we have a vote, please, for this motion? Carried. Thank you. We now move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is the Mental Health and Wellbeing Action Plan and Update. This can be found on pages 17 to 21. Am I right, Annie? Are you willing to do the presentation? Thank you.
Okay, so this report provides an update on the Mental Health and Wellbeing Action Plan, which was presented to the Employment Committee in March this year. So actions include the delivery of virtual sessions on mindfulness, mental health and resilience for staff and managers, virtual workshops promoting the Employee Assistance Programme, GP-led workshops on a range of health-related topics, and other plans to support mental health, including virtual cookery sessions. I'm really pleased with the feedback that's been received and the well-attended sessions that are designed to support the staff in many different areas. Mindfulness, menopause is a big one that needs to be supported. So I'm really pleased at the feedback received from this. And also maintaining a healthy work-life balance is so important at these current times of the hybrid working. Alan, I did notice actually that there's some actions on page 24 that states you're going to provide an update on those particular actions. There's 2 on page 24. Have you got an update for them?
Yeah, so yeah, if I can get Alan to update finding from the January poll survey. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I can certainly update on the senior management, raised out the senior team recently at their last meeting to ensure they were considering the work-life balance of their teams. So that was carried out at the most recent meeting. And again, we continue to work with staff about their heavy workloads. We meet with the unions regularly, with teams, and we ensure that the teams try and maintain that work-life balance. So nothing specific about that actually, but it is an ongoing piece of work, and we don't want people to working longer hours that masks the additional work. We need to know how much work there is and ensure that everything's properly resourced, and we work on that all the time. So that was again part of the message last week or the week before with the senior team.
Thank you, Alan. I see that on the work programme it says update from our finance director Richard to follow. Has anyone got any update? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Chairman. If I can, I've just updated. There's a piece of work going on across Lincolnshire at the moment by the HR officers and finance officers to look at who is giving an additional financial contribution and who isn't. And at the present time, the piece of work has shown that there was only one authority giving some support, further financial support to their employees for continuing to work at home. Which I know has been raised in a number of areas, which causes other problems then for others. As we sit here today, and I've spoken to the trade unions about this, that we would not be at this position offering any further financial support for people that are working from home as an organisation. So I just hope that helps. And just in support of what Alan was saying there about workloads and work-life balance, I am stressing it as well from myself and the leaders column that we do every week to all staff about work-life balance, making sure that staff, if they've got concerns, are raising it with their line managers. Work-life balance is extremely important, especially when we feel that we're at home and everything's coming at us at home as well, and we're not then being able to get away from it. So I'm certainly stressing it with my team. My team have been stressing it with their managers. Alan raised it at the senior managers team. That's with all the heads of service. So we're trying to do as much as we can. However, I'm probably not the best advocate for doing what I say. So yes, I also need to look in the mirror a little bit as well. But yes, so we are keeping a very close eye on it. We are going to be doing another mental wellbeing survey, pulse survey again very shortly. And of course, we've got the full staff survey coming out very shortly as well. So we'll get some good feedback from them.
Thank you, Karen. Just a quick question for myself while we're on the subject. What is the general consensus within the council of, if you can work at home, are they working from home, or is it a mixed hybrid situation?
It's very mixed. I would say 80%, the majority of staff are definitely looking for a blended approach. So a number of days working at home and only a couple of days in the office. We are very much stressing that we're looking at office improvements at the present time to make sure when they do come back into the office that the office accommodation is of a good standard. I do believe some time in the office is really important for teams to come together. I think team working is important, and that support and from each other and that general chat and how you're doing, what you're doing, and we're all part of our everyday lives. We're individuals, aren't we, that we do like contact, and sometimes when you're sitting at home, even though it's good to focus sometimes because you don't get the interruptions, it's quite isolated. So very much a blended approach, number of days in the office, number of days at home. We have a few members of staff that would prefer to stay at home all the time. But, you know, I think for what we've talked about with the people's mental health, I think we've really got to look at that to make sure that they are continuing to develop, have the opportunity to work with others, that network, that team environment. And then we do have a number of people that do struggle to work at home, and they've been accommodated all the way through COVID, and they've been coming into the office. So we do have a number that fit into all camps really, but we're being supportive of all. We're working with the cabinet at the moment to looking at longer term plans for returning to the office in a blended approach to support all our staff, and, you know, look at our carbon footprints and make sure that it's based on performance and outcomes, not about presenteeism, and it's about sitting on a chair, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think from the mental health side of it, although, you know, staff are at home all the time, obviously it affects their family members who probably aren't used to them being at home at the time. So I completely agree. You know, it's good. We're looking at a sort of a blended approach. I'm sure it will work for the, you know, for the staff and those at home for the change of circumstances. I think we've all been going through different, you know, mental health in smaller and larger effects on us and our family. So thank you, Karen. That's really good to hear. Alan, did you want to speak?
Yeah, just quickly to build on what Karen said, it really, one of the key things that we've really said is that the business comes first though. So yeah, we want to look after everybody's well-being and ensure that actually they're well and fit to come to work. But, you know, if their job needs to be in the office that day, it's in the office that day because that's where the business needs it to be. So it's a two-way street where we have to work together with our colleagues to make sure that the business gets done. You know, for example, if we were all working at home today, this meeting doesn't work properly. So the business has to come first.
Yeah, no, I accept that that is the case. Do we have any other questions? Thank you. Right, we'll move on now to item 7 on the agenda. This is in respect of the onboarding employee update. I'm looking to Annie again. Is this something you wish to present? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This report provides information on the onboarding process prior to the COVID-19 pandemic and during the COVID-19. The process is currently being refreshed, and consideration will need to be given around having a flexible approach to reflect new ways of working, quite similar to what we were discussing, obviously, in the previous report, to include hybrid working, and feedback from all new staff is continually sought so that the process can be improved. It's been particularly challenging for new staff over the last 18 months or so, but managers and buddies in their own areas have been really supportive. So we look forward to really having the process refreshed to see how it's going to work in a hybrid capacity going forward.
Okay, do we have any, this item is for noting it only, but do we have any questions, queries on this matter? Councillor Wood. Yes, I can. It's all right. Any comments? Yeah.
But in terms, as and Councillor Wood was talking about the buddy system, as a recently joining this council and going through the onboarding system, I think my buddy's in the room, but it's been it's a fantastic system. It really helps you to settle in much more quickly, get to know people much more quickly, especially with the constraints of not everybody being able to be in the building at the same time. I think it's a real positive way forward that the council's done. It makes you feel kind of part of the organisation really quickly. And then, yeah, obviously, you know, I don't want to embarrass my buddy, but you know, I think I got the best one.
Yes, Paul.
You've prompted me. Yeah. What about buddying system for members now?
I was just what I was going to ask.
Because
Thank
I
you,
know
Paul.
a long while ago when I was elected to the county council, they buddied members of, and that seemed to work quite well now. I don't know whether Kellam's probably got a buddy at the county, but
Well, through you, Madam Chairman. So I think in terms of what happened here in 2019, I think we had the political, it was dealt with by the political groups in terms of, you know, if any of the new members were basically buddied up with one of the existing members. But I certainly think from my onboarding process at the county council back in May, I had a member of the Democratic Services team who was effectively my point of contact should I require anything. And I certainly think and I'm sure Councillor Mason will be working on this already, the onboarding process for councillors after the next set of elections, I think it'd be quite useful to do a similar thing here actually. So every member's got a buddy officer, because often it's much easier to go through an officer in terms of any requirements you may or may not have.
Yeah, thank you, Callum. Yeah, from a personal point of view, I think as members, you almost find your buddy. Like for me, my first sort of role was vice chair to Councillor Wootton, and he's been like, going back to my police days, almost like my tutor. But buddy is the modern, probably the phrase, and he's not there to tell me all I know. But the confidence that it's given me, I mean, obviously that's an ongoing process, but I completely agree. I do think you land as a new member. You know, Annie and I went for a coffee once, the first coffee after full council, and literally said, what?
Madam Chairman, I think, and likewise, Madam Chairman, I do like the word tutor. So obviously, Paul, the offer is there for any of your group members. I'm happy to tutor them on the right way to vote.
Yeah, sorry, Anna, you go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I just wanted to say that the induction for members is on the agenda, isn't it, Callum, to have a look at, because I know that I can provide some valuable input to that. And I do think that if we had buddies or tutors or whatever you want to call them as members, for if a member wanted to have a buddy, then they're more than welcome to, because yeah, it's a bit of a steep learning curve,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in every walk of life, you do learn as you go along, and you learn from the mistakes you make. So it is a personal learning curve. But yes, definitely, you can be a bit intimidated coming into an atmosphere like this. And it does get, you know, for myself, it has got better, but there is so much to learn. And I look at the experienced counsellors and think, how do they know all, you know, everything? But I guess, you know, the more committees you join, the more you get involved. And obviously on our patches, you're constantly coming across different subjects and etc. So I think it would be a great idea. You know, we all get our training, and we get really good training as long as members, we always put our name down to do the training. But I accept that people work, got full-time commitments, but yeah, going forward, that is something I would definitely like to see. Thank you, Alan.
Just to add, I think we'll be loud and clear. We'll make sure this is included in the induction for 2023. But also, we've got a chance to trial that, haven't we, with the by-elections that are next month. So yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Where that can be done by the political parties, that's fine. But not all of our councillors are necessarily in political parties, so we can make those arrangements for them, so we can help with that, along with the training and probably a key contact in the officer course, seems like what I'm hearing, so that they've got somebody who they can get through the, you know, so who knows who they need to contact, like a single point of contact, if you like. So we can do that, no problem at all.
That's great, thank you, Alan. Do we have any more questions on this item 7? Lovely. Okay, we'll move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is in relation to name blind recruitment. So I must admit, when I saw this on the you know, when we discussed this to go on the agenda, I did have lots of questions. So I expect probably the same from committee members. Is it, Annie, are you happy to do the presentation again?
Alan's nodding his head, so
Yeah.
I presume so. I will start it off. Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. So name-blind recruitment process involves removing personal data from candidate information that recruiting managers have access to for shortlisting purposes, which could identify their background, for example, race and gender. Name-blind recruitment is considered to be best practice and reduces unconscious bias in recruitment. So until recently, the HR IT system didn't have the capability to automate this, and it would have been resource intensive for the HR team to do so. But now we've got a recruitment module of the HR IT system, and it's recently been implemented. So it now has the functionality to do this. So the report is asking the committee for approval to implement name-blind recruitment process, which basically means that HR has got that information, but they can strip it out of the system for the managers to remove that unconscious bias.
Thank you, Annie. Alan, do you want to add to this?
Only to add to what Councillor Mason said, that this was something that the council, this committee voted for or was keen to do a number of years ago, at the time when we didn't have the technological ability to do it. So that's the reason for this coming back to us today, whether there is still a desire to do that, or whether the, because it's now doable. So we will look to you for guidance.
Yeah, just to, I'm sure you've got the correct page open, but it's page 32. The available options to consider, obviously we'll discuss the matter further, but it's to continue with the current practice of providing recruiting managers with personal details of applicants, including name and educational achievements, or the preferred option to implement a policy on name-blind recruitment where personal details are not accessible to recruiting managers until the shortlisting process is being carried out. Can I throw it open to the committee? Have we got any questions or concerns? Yeah, Councillor Paul.
More questions, but in principle, I certainly support it. I had a few questions though about, I presume we're removing personal details, okay, and there's listed some of the things. I'm okay with that, nationality, gender, sexual age, all that. We're still going to know where they come from, their address. That's my question really. Are we going to know some of the details, like the address, where they come from, the educational background? Because I know it refers to later, obviously, you can get an idea of people's age with the education, can't you? But I think we do need to know the educational background, and also where the address, where they actually coming from, things like that.
Thank you, Paul. I do know that Alan can answer this because I asked exactly the same question before.
Yeah. So certainly, of course, you need to know what educational, what qualifications someone's got. That will be in there. And of course, for every time when you're doing shortlisting, there is that tendency to look at when people were at university or when they were at school, so you can work out their age. So it's more about but that's what we're trying to avoid here. So the dates are less likely, are less relevant. It's have they got? I mean, obviously you'll be concerned if any of their qualifications were really out of date, but it's to enable you to understand that they have the right level of qualification and experience in order to carry out the role. So again, you'll be able to, you'll see the level of experience as well, Councillor Ward, where they've worked and for what periods and when that is, all those things will be retained. So you will be able to make that reasonable judgment when shortlisting.
Thank you, Alan. Yeah, Paul, I think we are talking of sort of unconscious bias. We get a CV, we on the employment committee, obviously I'm relatively new. The first thing I'm looking at is how old are they? Where do they come from? Do I know them, etc. And I think that's what we're trying to, that initial, trying to avoid that. Yeah, and this is probably why it is a good thing to bring in. But obviously when it comes to the final interview, we'll know male, female, age, etc., won't we? So it's the early stages, I think, when you get that piece of paper, almost a very level playing field. Is that correct?
Yeah, of course, it's unavoidable, isn't it? We can't carry out our interview process, our final selection, without meeting the person. And so we do find out some of those things at that point. But of course, it's about making it as fair as is practically possible and being reasonable in these things to ensure that we're as fair as we can be and remove what unconscious bias that we can from the process. And I think, you know, that it is kind of the industry expectation these days, particularly in the local government sector. More and more local authorities are moving to this way of doing recruitment, and I think it is best practice in our sector to do this. It does create some challenges, but it does mean that we're able to have a wide, you know, without the reduction of the unconscious bias, broadens our range of people who will be considered. So it does give us a bigger pool to look from when we're trying to recruit as well.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Callum, I know you haven't put your hand up, but I can, your MVCs are telling me you want to ask something.
No, I think that the only comments I would make is that I think my recollection of that meeting that Mr. Robertson mentioned was slightly different to the one I remember. So I'd happily go through the minutes of that meeting. And I think I would just say, you know, I don't see unconscious bias being an issue at this authority, and I don't think we've ever had an issue in terms of that. The only comment I would say is that at the present time we're saying approves the use of name-blind recruitment. Well, obviously we're going to be making a policy decision there, and I'm not wishing to be critical of the report in front of us, but it is a little thin in terms of detail and how it's going to be enacted and how it's going to be brought into the organisation. So whilst I am in favour of it, I perhaps expected just a bit more in terms of what we've got in front of us today before we make a decision. But I am, you know, I think I am in support of it, you know, if this is the right way to go about it. And I think other authorities are obviously doing this, and particularly the civil service. And it's, I suppose, yeah, that's my only observations on it today.
Yeah, thank you, Callum. Yeah, I certainly see that, you know, we're positive about bringing blind recruitment before us for SKDC, but as Kellen says, you know, it probably needs a bit more information, a bit more to the report, and where I'm, you know, if everyone's happy to move it to another meeting, would it be coming forward to the next meeting, or give it a bit more time?
So I would suggest it's not for me to make the amendments, but we may want to make an amendment to say that we approve in principle the use of name-blind recruitment.
I think I'm probably saying, sorry, Madam Chairman, I think the recommendation would be the committee supports the use of name-blind recruitment, and at the next meeting we'll bring back a short policy document on the implementation of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Is it across the whole board? Is it just the senior team? Is it what we get involved with, or
no, fair point. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Thank you. So Kellen proposed and Paul second. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, can we have a vote? Yeah, thank you. Carried. Right, moving to item 9. We now have the Local Government Association Remote Peer Support, the final report. This is found on pages 35 to 52. So it's quite a long report in your agenda pack. As I say, I welcome Councillor Linda Wotton to today's meeting, and I understand she's actually the Cabinet Member for Corporate Governance. Are you happy to present this report, Linda?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your introduction. Good morning, everyone. And before I start, I'm always picking people up on this, but there are some abbreviations in my report. So when I say LGA, it's the Local Government Association, and CMT is the Corporate Management Team. So if you can just bear with me, thank you very much. I am pleased to present to you today a report setting out the feedback from the remote peer support we received from the LGA in July. I would like to draw your attention primarily to Appendices 1, which is the report from the LGA. I would like to ask the committee to consider the following 2 recommendations. 1, that the Employment Committee notes the report from the Local Government Association and future actions, including a corporate peer challenge in November 2021. 2, that the Employment Committee formally thanks the Local Government Association and members of the peer team for their support in undertaking the review and developing the attached report. As you will see from the report, SKDC has engaged with the LGA in a multi-phased programme of peer support this year as part of the LGA sector-led improvement programme, which includes remote peer support, focusing on people aspects taking place in July 2021, action planning session, an informal session with Cabinet and CMT taking place next Tuesday. Full corporate peer challenge taking place in November, where we will look forward to inviting the peer team on site. The peer support demonstrates the Council's commitment to inviting honest feedback, improvement, and delivering the best outcomes for our residents. As Cabinet Member for Corporate Governance, I welcome these external views and will oversee the programme to put things into action. May I extend a personal thanks to the team who have given their time to support us in Stephen Baker, Chief Executive at East Suffolk Council, Councillor Abby Brown, Leader at Stoke-on-Trent City Council, Kirsten Burnett, Head of Policy and Organisation Development at Hyde-Burn District Council, Sadvinga Rane, Programme Manager, Local Government Association, Francis Marshall, Local Government Support, Local Government Association. Thanks also to all of the officers and members that engaged in the peer support, which included the leaders of all political groups, who I understand provided invaluable insight. The report was both an enjoyable and useful read, and I have read it several times, as it reinforced that the actions we are taking to embed a strong, performance-focused, engaging culture are the right ones, but stressed that the journey ahead of us is a long one that will require time, energy, and resource. Some of the other key messages highlighted in the report are: SKDC has a high degree of ambition, a corporate plan that sets out to achieve growth and will involve investment in the district. The challenges of leadership and in style of recent years has had a significant impact on staff, and that there is now a clear sense of direction with some of the key building blocks, i.e. the corporate plan, service plans, performance appraisals put in place to deliver the ambitions. The new CMT, comprising of new and existing officers, are a strong team in which members have a great deal of confidence. The team are keen to work closely with members, officers and partners to achieve the outcomes the district requires. There is a very significant work programme for SKDC, which will require effective prioritisation and management to deliver, particularly arising from the reviews undertaken. Focus should be given to prioritising activity and communicating realistic and achievable timeframes for completing actions. The council is doing the right things and putting the building blocks in place to live Team SK as a vehicle for promoting collective identity and shared values, and a joined up operating model to deliver the ambitions within the corporate plan. However, this will take time and ongoing effort to deliver, and focus should be given to building on the successes to date with respect to workforce engagement, and a two-way communication plan should be developed to reinforce this. I personally think these are really useful insights that will help us on our journey, and we look forward to putting these insights into action. We look forward to working further with the peer team on the Corporate Peer Challenge over the next couple of months. In November, as I mentioned earlier, the team, with one additional member, will be joining us on site and will broaden the focus from the people element we agreed with them to look at during the previous session to cover the whole range of the council's activities with specific reference to 1, local priorities and outcomes. 2, organisational and place leadership. 3, governance and culture. 4, financial planning and management. 5, capacity for improvement. The peer team will meet with a wide range of stakeholders, including staff and members, but also will meet with partners and other organisations that we work with. Following on from the challenge, they will give us some initial feedback before compiling a formal report, which will be presented to Cabinet. I hope you have enjoyed reading the report, and I look forward to any questions which my buddy here, Ken Lyon, and I would be delighted to answer. And I would encourage the committee to support the recommendations within this report. Thank you, Madam Chair, and for your forbearance.
Thank you very much, Linda, for a very informative presentation and taking the time to come today to present it. Thank you.
My pleasure, Madam.
I can see Ken hiding. Ken, do you want to add to anything that Linda has said?
Only really to say, to reinforce the message of thanks to the LGA and particularly Francis Marshall, who has coordinated this. I think we've the multi-phase support that we've had with them is a new thing for them, and they've been really good at working with us flexibly to make it work for us. And I think the report's good, and I'm really looking forward to the peer challenge in November as well. So just to add my thanks to the LGA for that. Oh, sorry, the Local Government Association, because you'll know the abbreviations are my fault. So
thank you, Ken. Just a question for myself, Ken, while you've got your microphone on. Obviously, Linda mentioned about timeframes. It's an ongoing plan. Is there any indication of how long the process is going to take?
Yes, so the full peer challenge will take place in November. Then there will be a briefing for us at the end of that, and then they will give us a formal report within a couple of weeks of the briefing, which we will then take forward into to Cabinet. We'll bring back into the council and take forward via Cabinet. That will have full recommendations in there, and we're through the action planning session that's taking place next week. We're wanting to develop a kind of some of the kind of prioritization framework, and be more than happy to bring that back to the committee at the appropriate time if that's helpful for people.
Yes, Ken, that'd be really helpful. I think it's obviously too soon to bring it to the next meeting, which is in November, but I think we'd like to head towards the meeting in January, the employment committee meeting, January the 19th. So would that be feasible to head towards a review as to what's gone on?
Yeah, absolutely. Be delighted to do that, and we'll be able to show then how a number of the high priority actions as well will have moved on fairly significantly since then. So not across the various reviews that are taking place across the council. So yeah, be delighted to bring that back at that point.
Thank you, Ken. That's great. Do we have any questions from committee members? Paul? Oh, who's first? Callum.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Well, I think just to add to what Councillor Wootton's really said is that, and I think when I became leader, and obviously when Karen started as well, we were very keen to bring in the LGA and also engage with them much more than what we have done as a council. So I've benefited on a number of levels from the LGA. I'm actually now on one of their boards. I've got my first board meeting tomorrow, but actually from some of the training packages that they offer to councillors that have really benefited me. But as a council, we've not had a peer review here for a number of years. I think it was 2013 that our last one was actually completed. And for most councils across the country that are members of the LGA, you should have them on a fairly regular basis. So normally I think it once every council term, every sort of 4 years, you'd expect to have a peer review. We did have one actually back in 2013, from what I can remember. And I don't think it was a glowing report. And sadly at the time, it was hidden from councillors. So we didn't actually ever get to see the final copy of that document. So in reality, we have not had a public peer review for a substantial amount of time. So for me, it is absolutely right that we open the door and that we invite them back in, because as you'll see in the report that we've got before us, it shows that we are on that journey now and we are heading in the right direction. I think it highlights some of the recent successes we've had as an organisation, but also just to say that, we accept that there are challenges of this council. And I think we all know those and we all recognise those over the last few years. And for us, by them coming back in November in person, it will build upon that to make sure that the corporate plan we have got in place will continue to then create that action plan, so that when they come back in 4 years' time, they can hopefully see a very different council to the one that they previously visited. Because by then the corporate plan should have been embedded. And Team SK should certainly be motoring on the way to being one of the best councils in the country. So for me, I think when I said about we would do a peer review, I said at the time this wasn't going to be hidden and it would be a very open process and it would be a very honest process. And actually by the engagement of opposition leaders and administration members and opposition members, it shows that we do want to see a really open and robust peer review, so then actually we get the benefit, because there's no point in doing this if we're not actually going to be really honest about it and then enact some of the challenges that we've got to do and make us a better council. So I'm very pleased with the work that's been done to date. Abby, as the leader of Stoke-on-Trent, is a really good leader in local government, and I know she's becoming a bit of a mentor to me. So we speak on quite a frequent basis because she also has a number of challenges at Stoke-on-Trent, not that dissimilar to us actually. So she recognises the journey that we are on, and I know that the CMT team as well, working with the LGA, has been really beneficial. And I'm looking forward to them coming back in November to us then continue that journey.
Thank you, Callum. I agree with you. We want to be an open and transparent SKDC, and I know the work has well and truly started for that. So let's hope going forward, we stick to that. So yeah. Any more questions, Paul? Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I welcome the report. It is good to have an open and transparent peer review. They involved lots of people. They spoke to me as well as opposition leader, and I think that was good. They've done some positive things. They've come out with SKDC have a high degree of ambition, which is good. The corporate plan sets out the growth thing. Quite a few good things, but I noticed on the key findings of the report on 1.9, and both Councillor Linda Wotton and Ken referred to it about prioritisation. On paragraph 4, on 1.9, paragraph 4 down, it talks about a very significant work programme for SKDC, which will require effective prioritisation and management to deliver. Now, I think that's absolutely right, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've been associated with SKDC for a large number of years, and I must admit, there's always been problems. And I think any large organisation will always have problems to tackle and prioritisations. But I think the important thing is just to make sure we're not taking on too much, trying to do everything all at once, and also making sure that the public are aware of it. It talks in that paragraph about realistic timescales. What I don't want to be doing is, as we have done sometimes in the past, promise things and then not being able to deliver on them. So I think the timescales are important and the prioritisation are vital really to tackle these problems. And I'm not critical of SKDC of having problems. I say, however long I've been here, there's always been problems. And I think any large organisation will have problems to tackle. That's part of why we're here, why we have a management structure and chief exec to sort the problems out and work the way through them. But I do wonder, I don't know whether Kellen would agree with me, to try and put something else on the recommendation about this prioritisation. That concerns me a bit, that, you know, we do want to prioritise things. And I say both Councillor Wotton and Ken did refer to that. And I think that's actually vital, that we tackle the problems in an orderly way, with an orderly timescale, with realistic, and we are realistic with the public. So that's what I would. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I think Alan just wants to come. Oh, Karen, sorry. Kellen first and then Karen, thank you.
Everybody's keen to prioritise. So in reality, I think you've made some really good points there, Paul. And I think, yeah, we do have a significant work programme, and that is predicated by quite often the failures of the past of this organisation, both on a managerial level, but also on a political level, in terms of what it is we want to achieve and what it is we want to do. And I think we now have a management, well, it's the best management team I've known since I've been on the council for 10 years, in terms of what it is we're setting out to do. You know, we've got a corporate plan now that for many years we did not have. So our corporate plan is effectively our Bible of what we want to achieve over the next few years. But also to say that, and I know the point you're sort of underlining, mentioning, where we obviously make pledges to the public and stuff, but we've also got to take into account that, you know, there are external factors that will change and adapt what it is we seek to do as an organisation. You know, and anything, and it's not to use COVID as an excuse, but, you know, the last 18 months has completely changed local government in what the ability we have to be able to do, but also the budget and money we have to do in order to fund our priorities. So I think we've also got to be open and honest in the fact that we've got to acknowledge that change will happen over a 4-year period, because it is a long period of time. I think we have a set of priorities and they are being effectively prioritised, but we've also got to be mindful that we can't delay things just to make sure that we need to delay something, because at the end of the day, you know, we aren't getting any more funding from central government, and we certainly won't year on year. So we've got to make those difficult decisions now in order to future-proof the organisation into the future. So part of the reason why we've done the arts review, for instance, is not just because, yes, we've got a budget pressure, but actually, are we actually achieving what we want to do in that certain area? Are we getting the audience numbers that we want? Are we reaching out into the community that we want? Because I use a very quick analogy, you know, more residents from Rutland use Stamford Arts Centre. Well, that's fantastic for the residents of Rutland, but the residents of South Kesteven are the ones that are subsidising that service and they're not accessing it. So we need to make it as best as we can to ensure that we get best value. But, you know, even over the next 2 years until the election, you know, new priorities will come forwards, you know, new ambition will come forward, and it's about prioritising those to make sure that we do the easy wins, but then we also plan in the longer term. So we're not putting the council at risk, but ultimately we've got to make sure, and I know Councillor Stokes always mentions to me about a balanced budget every year. And, you know, it is exceptionally difficult, but likewise, we've just got to bear in mind that external factors often change the plans and priorities of the council.
Thank you, Callum. Karen?
Not a lot I can add to that, to be honest, Chairman. He's probably taken all my words. I think one of the things we've got to think about here is we've all got ambition, we've all got priorities. Without the right resources, we're never going to deliver. We have resources and we need to make sure that those resources are performing to the highest of levels. And that's one of the things that this committee did, was to bring in that new appraisal system and wanted that appraisal system in. Of course, I wanted that appraisal system in as well. And that's going to be key to us delivering and making sure that we do have the right resources with the right skill set to deliver a lot of these things that we need to do. If we just look at housing, you know, when I arrived 20 months ago, you know, I didn't think that we would have the significant problems that we haven't had in housing. Therefore, you know, tremendous effort has had to be put in and resources into improving our housing service and making sure it's compliant. And as Callum said, we sorry, as the leader said, we never knew that COVID was going to impact on us so much, wouldn't we? And it's been quite a challenging 18 months, as well as doing the scrutiny review, the peer review, the planning review, the housing review. We've had a lot on, and when I speak, and I know the leader speaks in different groups and different networks, and we say what we've achieved over the last 18 months, my goodness, it's something to be proud of. And it's also something that stops people in their tracks, because they don't realise actually how much has been achieved. And people have just said, oh, we've just focused on COVID. Yeah, we've done COVID, we've done the pandemic, we've responded, and we've responded exceptionally well. So that's members being flexible, members being continued to be engaged. We've not reduced any member meetings down, we've not reduced any numbers coming to meetings, and we've done all that, and we've delivered significant change over the last 18 months. The peer review team was exceptionally proud, I think, to say what's been achieved by members of this council and by officers of this council over that period. What we need to do going forward, energy levels sometimes dip, don't they? We do get a little bit, I think Callum's called me a little bit frazzled now and again. He's right. And we need to make sure that we can maintain that energy and make sure that our resources are aligned to what we need to be doing. We've got some tremendous budget pressures coming forward. We need to be in a good place to be able to deliver what we need to do and to make sure that our communities are well supported. So, I'm really proud of the report, and to me, it's picked up the right things that, we've got to sometimes stop and think, haven't we, about what are our priorities. It's a good time, yet again, 18 months on, to review those, to make sure we're doing the right actions, to work with members to make sure that that's the right focus going forward. Yeah, I thought it was a good report. Thank you to my team and the LGA and all members involved. It was a heavy few days. It's going to be heavier in November for sure. Ken was even talking to me at 7:30 this morning. I don't even get any travel time these days. Ken's always on the phone about he's on the train, I'm in the car. We're organising the timetable for November with which partners we're having to engage. So, it's important, but I think it's something that we all could be proud of.
Yeah, Callum.
I'll just come back in there, because obviously I know Karen's made a slight comment, and it is a concern to me, and as well about, I don't want our officers and ourselves particularly to burn out. And obviously I had a week off the other week and it was well overdue. Let me tell you that, because, we've all got to look after our own health. And I know I sometimes tease Karen and say, please, can we have no more reviews? But, we're on that journey now and we've got to continually improve. But I think sometimes we actually fail to look back and actually see what we have achieved and actually to celebrate that success, because it is sometimes for Councillor Wood's members, it's the easiest thing to criticise. But actually, if you look at what we've actually achieved over the last 18 months, we've done a tremendous amount, as well as keep the lights on and support our residents, but as well as do everything else. So, I've always said, when I became leader, I wanted to leave it in a better place than I found it, especially with my team of cabinet, many of who are here today. And I know that we will do that by just simply by what we are doing at the minute.
Thank you, Callum. And it's so refreshing to hear the positivity and what Karen's talking to us. It's very easy to be half empty, of what's gone by. And for me, as a fairly new member, I try and be half full, and I think there's a lot to be proud of, like you say, and positive about. And like you say, I'm sure it's been very hard work for you, because you've hit the ground running. We know you have, and your staff. So just to thank you. I don't know if it's my place to say that, but yeah, thank you. Okay. So have we got any more questions or comments? Okay, well, I'll move to the recommendations. So for this particular item 9, I think we're saying that the Employment Committee notes the reports from the Local Government Association and future actions, including a corporate peer challenge in November 2021. But I think as an Employment Committee, we need to formally thank the Local Government Association and members of the peer team for their support in undertaking the review and developing the report within the agenda. So can I have a proposer, please? Yeah, thank you, Adam. And can I have a seconder? Thank you, Rosemary. And can I have a vote, please? Yep, carried. Thank you. Okay. Right, next one is, right, I'm just going to ask, because I've got to kick Alan out for the next item, literally. Remove him. Does anyone want just a break, or do you want to carry on? I mean, obviously Alan will come back for the next item. Do you want to crack on? Okay. You can go on the naughty step outside. Just bear with me. Right, now we move to item 10, which is the designation of monitoring officer. This can be found on pages 53 to 55 in the agenda pack. Okay, I'm not entirely sure who's going to present this report. Yeah, thank you, Callum.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think it's probably best coming from a member. So obviously the report in front of us is the designation of the monitoring officer, and there is a proposal that the Employment Committee recommends that the Council designate Alan Robertson, Deputy Chief Executive as South Kildare District Council's monitoring officer from the 30th of September 2021. And I think just in relation to the statement, so obviously after 2.5 years with the Council's monitoring officer, Shaheen Ismail, obviously decided to leave the Council to pursue other ventures. And I think Shaheen leaves the Council having put in place the core foundations for a new constitution and governance framework. And obviously we've seen the legal support to the Council move to a more resilient footing with the partnership with the Legal Services Lincolnshire. Of course, on behalf of the Council, I think we all wish Shaheen well and would like to thank her for her hard work and commitment to the Council, particularly over the last few years. Alan, though, has been Deputy Chief Exec now for, how long is it now, 6 months? 6 months next week. God, it's not a bad guess on time. Alan's been a really good officer and is embedded down into the district exceptionally well. He was previously the monitoring officer for West Lindsey District Council for 8 years prior to commencing his employment here with us. So he is exceptionally experienced in being a monitoring officer. And I think in terms of the senior management team, he would be the best person placed for this role. So I'm happy to propose Alan Robertson.
Paul.
Yeah, I'd be quite happy to, if Callum's proposing that, I think he probably is, I'd be quite happy to second that.
Thank you, Paul.
From my experience of Alan over the last 6 months, I find him very, very practical, very, very diplomatic, actually, and the way he's dealt with things exceptional. So I think this is a sensible way forward. I'm quite happy to second that here, and I'd be happy to second it when it goes to full council.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Can we have a vote, please? Yep, thank you, carried. So the recommendation, just to reaffirm, that is Alan Robertson. So it's option 1. Alan, I'll read it out anyway for my purposes, I think. So he currently holds a position of Deputy Chief Executive and is part of the Council's corporate management team. He was previously the monitoring officer at West Lindsey District Council, has successfully carried out this role for 8 years prior to commencing employment with SKDC, therefore demonstrating his required knowledge and experience to undertake the role for South Kildare. So yes, happy as a committee for him to continue. Thank you, take that role. Yes.
For the records of the tape, we're having a short interlude.
Rosemary, you want to talk to me afterwards?
Yes, that would be lovely.
It's not slap on the wrist again.
No.
Is he coming back, Alan? Has he had enough? Right, welcome back, Alan. Are we ready to move on now to item 11?
Just to say, Madam Chair, obviously, congratulations, Alan. The decision was unanimous for you to take on this additional role. So I'm sure we look forward to working with you as the monitoring officer following the council's decision.
Thank you, Kellen.
I'm sure you'll be fair with the opposition.
Yes.
Right, can we have some order, please? We now move, obviously, to the next item on the agenda, 11, the employment work plan. This can be found on pages 57 to 58. Can I ask for an officer to do an update? Is anyone who's going to? Oh, thank you. Our Deputy Chief Executive will do the update.
So the papers are before you. It sounds like we've added to the work plan today by receiving the action plan from the peer review in our January committee. With the exception of that, obviously the only other thing that's on there it is still quite sparse. So I think from my point of view, I want to work with the chairman and with the portfolio holder for this committee to kind of see what things we can bring forward and what things we need to prioritise on the theme of today's meeting to bring forward over the next couple of meetings, and then start to plan for the year ahead and get much more detail in there. So we certainly, to add to this plan is the peer review findings and action planning, and then I'll work, as I say, with councillors Mason and Trotter to build the rest of the programme up.
Thank you, Alan. Any further comments on the work programme? Adam?
Yeah, I was going to say it looked a bit light, to be honest. So I'm glad that Alan's going to be looking at that with yourself and the portfolio holder. But with regards to the people strategy, I'm just wondering when, because all the others are annual, I noticed. So I'm just wondering when that will be factored in.
So we're working on that at the moment, Councillor Stokes. So that should be, I would suggest that's probably going to be our January meeting, to get that finalised and to start working on that. Make sure that it aligns to all the other documents we have, the corporate plan and the like, and our, and it also takes reference to the other parts of the golden thread, the appraisals and the service plans, to ensure that it kind of is a good fit with the rest of the organisation. But yeah, it should be in January, I would imagine.
Yeah, Callum.
Can I just ask that we put the intranet on the work plan as well? So I know it's been discussed before, and I think it'd be really useful. I know we desperately need a new intranet.
Yeah, that's noted. Thank you, Callum. Anyone else? No. Okay, we'll now move to the next, the final item on the agenda, which is any other business. If we have any other business, could you raise your hand, Callum?
It was just really to record our congratulations and thanks. So last week I had the pleasure of attending the MJ Awards, where Leisure SK was actually up for an award, including Karen Whitfield, our head of leisure, for workforce transformation. And that was identifying the work that we have done as a council, and also now as a council-owned company, with the creation of Leisure SK, to do with the tupiing arrangements, with about how the organisation's been set up, how it's now working and engaging with customers. We didn't unfortunately win the award, but we were highly commended. And actually to be highly commended for an award for a company that only really set up in the January, it's an incredible achievement for us, and certainly got us onto the national stage of awards. And I'd just like to put on record our thanks to all the staff and members that were involved in that. And I know Leisure SK continues to go from strength to strength as an organisation, and I'd like to thank everybody that's been involved.
Thank you, Callum. Yeah, again, it's good to hear positive news going forward. Like I said, we look forward to autumn 2021 with positivity. Any other business? Okay. Thank you everyone for attending today, and particularly to those officers and members for their updates and reports. I believe our next scheduled meeting is Wednesday, the 17th of November. As far as I know, back here in the council chamber, but that could possibly change. And I look forward to seeing you all then, and have a safe journey home and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.